This rattles the narcissist when they know you know. Have you ever been in the presence of a narcissist and felt that subtle sense of unease? Maybe you found yourself wondering how they manage to manipulate others so effortlessly, or how they always seem to come out on top, no matter what. But here's the thing. Narcissists are incredibly good at putting on a mask, an illusion of power, confidence, and self-assuredness. They thrive on admiration and control, and they will go to great lengths to ensure they maintain their image of superiority. But there's one thing that shakes them to their core, one thing that rattles them more than anything else. What happens when the narcissist realizes that you know exactly who they are? When they know that you've figured out their game? In this video, we're going to delve deep into this phenomenon. We'll explore the power shift that occurs when a narcissist is confronted with the realization that their carefully constructed facade is no longer working. We'll discuss the strategies they use to keep their mask in place and how, when they discover that you see through it, they become uneasy, defensive, and sometimes even irrational. This is not just a matter of their ego being bruised. It's a matter of survival for the narcissist. Their entire identity is built around the idea that they are in control, admired, and above others. When you disrupt that image, you challenge their very sense of self. But before we dive deeper into this intriguing topic, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. Understanding narcissistic behaviors is crucial, especially if you've ever dealt with someone who exhibits these traits. Stick around until the end. We promise this will be an eye-opening exploration into what happens when a narcissist realizes you know exactly what they are doing. Narcissism is a complex and often misunderstood personality trait. Narcissists are people who have an inflated sense of their own importance, a constant need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. They believe that they are superior to others and often manipulate, exploit, or control those around them to maintain this illusion of grandeur. But what happens when their power dynamics are disrupted? When their carefully crafted image is exposed? This is where things get interesting. The truth is, narcissists are not as invincible as they want the world to believe. Beneath that exterior of confidence and charm, there is a fragile ego that cannot handle criticism or rejection. And if you know exactly how to expose them, it can be a game changer. When narcissists realize that you know their true nature, that you see through their manipulations, their lies, and their need for control, it strikes at the very core of their identity. This revelation doesn't just shake their pride. It causes a deep emotional and psychological disturbance. Suddenly, they are no longer the puppet master pulling all the strings. They are the one being seen as small, flawed, and vulnerable. And that is something they can't tolerate. The narcissist's world revolves around perception. They need to be admired, worshipped, and put on a pedestal. It is not enough for them to simply exist in the world. They need others to acknowledge their greatness. But what happens when you don't play along with this act? When you refuse to feed into their need for constant admiration and attention, the narcissist becomes threatened. They feel exposed, vulnerable, and, most of all, weak. Let's take a moment to consider the psychology behind this. Narcissists are, at their core, insecure individuals who have developed a defense mechanism to protect their fragile self-esteem. This defense mechanism often takes the form of grandiosity, arrogance, and manipulation. Their self-worth is not derived from genuine accomplishments or real relationships, but from the illusion that they are superior to others. They thrive on the control they have over people's perceptions of them. But when you know who they really are, you strip away that illusion. You see them for what they are, deeply insecure, fragile, and unable to handle criticism. This is when the narcissist's behavior takes a turn. They become defensive, combative, and even desperate. They might try to gaslight you, convincing you that you're the one who's mistaken, that your perception of them is wrong. They might attempt to manipulate the situation by turning the tables, accusing you of being the problem. They may even resort to silent treatment or emotional withdrawal, using tactics like these to regain control over the situation. But here's the catch. The more they try to regain control, the more they reveal their true nature. Their desperation becomes more apparent, and their ability to maintain the illusion of grandeur begins to falter. This rattles them, and they know it. They know that you know, and they don't like it one bit. Now let's talk about the narcissistic rage that often accompanies this realization. Narcissistic rage is an extreme emotional reaction to any perceived threat to their ego. This can be triggered by something as simple as a perceived insult, rejection, or, most devastatingly, a challenge to their superiority. When a narcissist realizes that you know who they really are, it can send them into a fit of rage. This rage is not just about being upset. It's a full-blown emotional outburst designed to punish the person who has dared to expose them. What does narcissistic rage look like? It can range from verbal abuse and explosive anger to more passive-aggressive behaviors, like sulking or withdrawing emotionally. The goal is to reassert control and put you back in your place. Narcissists use rage as a weapon to keep others in line and remind them that they are the ones in charge. When they realize that you're not afraid of their rage, it's a blow to their ego that they can't easily recover from. But what happens if you don't react to their rage? If you stay calm, assertive, and unshaken? This is when the narcissist's true vulnerabilities begin to emerge. Narcissists are not accustomed to being ignored or dismissed. They are used to being the center of attention, the one calling the shots. When you stop feeding into their games, they feel a profound sense of loss. The realization that their manipulations no longer work leaves them vulnerable and unsure of how to regain control. The narcissist may also engage in what's known as triangulation, a tactic they use to pit people against each other in order to maintain their power and control. When they realize you see through their manipulation, they may try to bring in a third party to cause confusion or to shift the focus away from themselves. This is another strategy they use to avoid the truth of the situation. They may turn others against you, spread lies, or manipulate situations to create doubt about your perception of them. But here's the thing. Triangulation only works if you allow it to. If you remain firm in your understanding of the narcissist's true nature, they lose their grip on the situation. They can no longer control the narrative. The more you expose them for what they are, the more they begin to crumble under the weight of their own deception. This moment of realization, the moment when the narcissist understands that you see them for who they truly are, marks a turning point. It's not just about you understanding them. It's about them understanding that they can no longer manipulate you into playing their game. And this is terrifying for them. It's not just an attack on their ego, it's a threat to their entire existence. If they lose their ability to manipulate and control others, they lose their identity. And that's a fate worse than anything they could imagine. At this point, the narcissist may attempt to discard you, cutting ties in an effort to regain control and save face. They may try to erase your importance from their life entirely, pretending as if you never mattered. But this act of discarding is nothing more than a final, desperate attempt to protect their fragile self-esteem. It's a way of punishing you for seeing through their facade. But the real curse for the narcissist is that, deep down, they know they are not invincible. They know that they are not as powerful or untouchable as they once believed. And when you know the truth about them, when you no longer fall for their games, it forces them to confront something they cannot ignore. their own inadequacy. In conclusion, the moment a narcissist realizes that you know exactly who they are, that you've seen through their manipulations, their lies, and their fragile sense of superiority, it sends shockwaves through their psyche. This revelation shakes them to their core, and the emotional consequences can be profound. They may respond with rage, manipulation, or even silence, but one thing is certain: they are rattled. And when a narcissist is rattled, they are no longer the puppet master in control of the situation. They are exposed, vulnerable, and unsure of how to regain their power. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this exploration of narcissistic behavior insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with others. It's important to understand the true nature of narcissism, especially if you've ever encountered it in your personal life. Stay strong, stay informed, and never let anyone manipulate your perception of who they truly are. The disgusting habits of narcissists when they are old. Imagine an old man sitting by the window, his once vibrant appearance now faded with age, yet his arrogance and self-importance have not diminished one bit. He's still demanding admiration and attention from everyone around him, expecting his needs to be met, no matter how unreasonable or selfish. It may seem hard to believe, but this is the disturbing reality of many narcissists as they grow older. Narcissism isn't something that simply fades with age. It tends to evolve, becoming even more grotesque, toxic, and insufferable. In fact, the disgusting habits of narcissists in their later years can be even more dangerous and damaging than when they were younger. In this video, we're going to explore how narcissism manifests in the elderly. We'll uncover the subtle and not so subtle ways narcissists manipulate, control, and drain the people around them, especially those closest to them. And by the end, you'll have a better understanding of why these behaviors are so persistent and how you can protect yourself or a loved one from falling victim to them. Before we dive deep into these disturbing habits, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this video with your friends and family. This is a conversation everyone should be part of, especially if they have experienced narcissism, whether it's from a parent, grandparent, or even a caregiver. As narcissists age, their behaviors often shift in ways that can make them even more toxic and destructive than when they were younger. To understand why these habits become more prominent in old age, we need to first understand the essence of narcissism. At its core, narcissism is defined by an inflated sense of self-importance, a need for constant admiration, a lack of empathy, and a tendency to exploit others for personal gain. These characteristics, while disruptive in youth, only worsen as time goes on, often manifesting in more insidious forms as the narcissist becomes older. Narcissism in the twilight years, the evolution of toxicity. When narcissists reach old age, one of the most noticeable changes is that they can no longer rely on the same outward sources of validation. They may no longer be the charismatic professional at the top of their career, nor the physically attractive individual who draws attention wherever they go. These losses can be hard to cope with for someone who has built their identity around admiration and control. However, instead of accepting the natural process of aging, narcissists double down on their most disgusting traits in an attempt to maintain the facade of superiority. In their later years, narcissists may develop a sense of entitlement that becomes increasingly exaggerated. This sense of entitlement can lead to more extreme demands on their loved ones, as they feel they are owed care, attention, and respect simply because they have lived a long life. This is not a natural desire for dignity or comfort that many elderly people seek, but rather an expectation rooted in narcissistic self-absorption. For example, Elderly narcissists often exhibit manipulative behaviors in subtle and not so subtle ways. They may guilt-trip family members into providing more than they can afford or sacrifice their own needs for the narcissist's comfort. They may demand constant attention or assert their wishes without regard for others' needs or preferences. This manipulation can be particularly effective when the narcissist uses their frailty or advanced age to make others feel guilty for not giving in to their demands. The habit of emotional blackmail. One of the most disturbing habits that surfaces in elderly narcissists is emotional blackmail. As their health declines, narcissists may feel more vulnerable and powerless, but instead of accepting their vulnerability with grace, they resort to manipulative tactics to regain control. This often takes the form of guilt-tripping, threatening to withdraw affection, or using their health as a way to get others to cater to their whims. Imagine a narcissist who has spent their life emotionally abusing their children, now turning around and accusing them of being neglectful, simply because they can't drop everything to provide care at the drop of a hat. These elderly narcissists often paint themselves as the victim, even if they were emotionally abusive or neglectful throughout their lives. The goal is to make others feel guilty enough to provide whatever attention or resources the narcissist demands. This emotional manipulation can be especially harmful to younger generations who feel a sense of duty to care for their aging parents or grandparents. It creates a toxic dynamic where the narcissist is constantly seeking to drain emotional resources, while the caregiver is left feeling drained, resentful, and powerless. Narcissistic rage in old age. Another dangerous habit that often intensifies with age is narcissistic rage. Narcissists, regardless of age, have a fragile sense of self-esteem. They cannot handle any form of criticism, rejection, or perceived threat to their self-image. In their later years, as they face the reality of aging and physical decline, their insecurities grow even more pronounced. The slightest affront, whether real or imagined, can trigger an explosive outburst of rage. At this stage, the narcissist may not have the same energy or social influence to project their rage outward in public or at work, but they often turn this wrath on their closest family members. The people who are supposed to provide care and comfort become the targets of their verbal abuse, intimidation, and resentment. A narcissist in their senior years might throw tantrums over seemingly trivial matters, such as not getting their preferred meal or having to wait a few minutes longer for help. These outbursts can be jarring, especially for younger family members who may have never seen the narcissist in such a vulnerable yet volatile state. The elderly narcissist may not even be aware of how out of control they are, but that doesn't make the damage they cause